For me, I think that every country needs to decide what they want. Okay. But we sitting in Ghana, it's very easy to point to countries and say, oh, they are doing well and they are nice and things. But now that the man wants to go another 6 or 7 years,
speak to Rwanda.
At which point does that become a problem?
To who?
To us, because we are all Africans. And we have to be concerned about what happens on the continent. So whether it's Rwanda, it's true, but we have to be concerned. Because instability somewhere is instability everywhere. According to Martin Luther King, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere.
True.
So once you start seeing this type of, and don't forget, a lot of the guys who have been in power, the top people who've been in office, Theodore Nguema, Paul Biya, M7, they all started well. Oh. They didn't start like
not all of them started well. Some of them from day one they were thieves.
Well, fine, but the point.
But I want to know just one who started well.
Oh, I mean,
for
example, if you look at the conditions under which Museveni came,
yes,
the kind of Uganda he took over, he was a rebel leader fighting in the bush against a very bad government, right? So you can say that initially Museveni's government was welcome.
And it's not just that if
do you understand? So
but welcome is not the same as starting well.
You see, what I'm saying is that Museveni is no Kagame, but when Museveni became president, I'm not sure anybody would have said that this was a bad thing at the time he became leader. That's what I'm saying. Looking at the people he took over from. I mean, you had Milton Obote, you had Idi Amin and all these guys coming before Museveni came. Johnson. So now he's been in power for almost 30-something years, which now is a problem. So my point is that Kagame, all of us are saying he stabilized the country. The country is being governed well. But is there not a possibility of a reversibility? Because if you stay in power for 30 years, obviously you become slower.
So the question then will become, does democracy mean the capacity to do things, or does it mean majority rule? We will come back.
I'm not even talking about
democracy. But the man is not mentioning democracy.
Yeah, I'm not talking about democracy.
In this estimation, what they practice is democracy.
Interview,
so the conversation will become,
he won 98.8%
what
of the
is
vote.
a democracy then? Which is the conversation
actually, no, you see, I am thinking that the discussion shouldn't be about democracy. The discussion should be about governance and what works for people.
Yes.
Okay, because as I say, the Chinese say they are practicing democracy.
Yes, in their estimation.
Number two, Egypt had a ruler, Mubarak, for many years.
Yes, possibly.
When they opened up the system after the Arab Spring, and people went to vote, Mohamed Morsi won the election. Clean. Well, wait, no, he won the election. Subsequently, the soldiers came and took over the country. And I didn't see Western condemnation of what's happening in Egypt.
You know why?
I'm coming on. So the standard is, democracy is good. People must choose. Well, the people that didn't like Mubarak, they chose Mohamed Morsi. As I speak to you, Morsi has been, he's dead, he died in prison. And now there's a military ruler. Now, Egypt is not, I don't know, Egypt is moving on. But the way the countries work in Africa, all right, should we be concerned about Kagame's decision to go for 4 more years?
Yes.
Or 7 more years?
Yes and no.
Are you worried about Kagame's?
Yes and no.
Are you worried?
I am concerned, but I must admit that I haven't been able to gauge the situation on the ground in that country. But from looking from as an outsider, it looks like they have been outstanding in many ways, and so in terms of leadership, he's been a near excellent leader. But the tenure of leadership must, if you like, replay itself upon your exit. Now, if he leaves today, the only reason the man is saying, I want to extend my tenure, is that he's not sure whether his impact will outlive him.
And it's not the problem, because he's had 23 years to deal with a very bad situation.
Yeah, but you see,
which is a long time.
The fault lines that can divide are not necessarily developmental issues.
Yeah,
a lot of them are ethnic issues.
So I get you. So, but in the 23 years, is it not enough to
you can
heal
never
those
use
things?
Democracy to solve ethnicity
I
problems.
haven't mentioned democracy. Papa, don't go democracy. I'm saying that you've had 23 years. You've taken over from a very bad situation. 2 million people were killed in a genocide. In the 23 years you've been in office, you are doing a lot of things. You are bringing development. You are also stabilizing the country. You are uniting the people. My point is, nobody will live forever.
Yeah.
And nobody will be at the top of his game forever. So looking at it from outside, it's easy for me to say, but couldn't there have been a way of succession? I'm not even talking about voting.
Well, that should have been
a succession where you can say that, like, Lee Kuan Yew was succeeded by somebody who is continuing the project during phase 2. So I am not even talking about voting or something for opposition or whatever. I'm just saying that in Rwanda's case, you've stabilized the country for 23 years and put them on the development path.
Yeah.
But now you are growing older. And we can't see any figure emerging to take over the baton from you.
But that's a failure.
Yeah,
that is a failure.
But
But let's get back to the Lee Kuan Yew issue. Mm-hmm. Mind you, Lee Kuan Yew is dealing with a country that has thousands of years of civilization behind them.
Which country are you talking about?
Lee Kuan Yew,
Singapore.
Country, of course. They are made up of Malays, Chinese people, all these people who, what I'm saying is that traditionally, I'm not talking about independence, traditionally are civilized.
No, it was three. It was 3 groups that he melded together.
That's what I'm saying.
The Chinese group, the Malays, and then the Indians into one country.
They are not, your primitive people, and they are not protracted by ethnic divisions. The thing that keeps bothering us as Africans is the issue of the fault lines on the grounds of ethnicity.
I actually want to push back on that, because when Lee Kuan Yew took over Malaysia, one of the main problems was the ethnic. Yes, ethnic division.
The advantage that some people
there was a major ethnic fault line between the 3 groups
because of commercial, if you like, financial power that was
one group. Yes, but I'm saying that, you see, it's actually a very similar example. Malaysia, Singapore is very similar in a sense. They didn't have a war, they didn't have a genocide, but there was 3 groups that were difficult to work together.
Because yes, you are right.
So he had to bring them
because one group were favorably disposed to the white man, so they had an advantage.
Yeah,
you get me. But I'm just saying that this one, what you said about succession should have been his far-sighted vision that I am 20 years on this seat. By this time, somebody else should be coming up who will take over from me. That one is non-negotiable. But for the man to say that I want to extend my tenure is an admission that he is suspicious of his own legacy, and is a country that can implode any day.
You know the funny thing, prior to this, he has said that he was going to bow out after this year. So it seems as if maybe the conversation has been had and they are not sure what will happen when he's not there. Which goes back to the point of a leader's job in building institutions versus being a strong man. As we say he's a benevolent dictator. When he talks, we like what he says about Africa. He has his mind on the right things. The country is well organized, it's clean. But to build a country where only you have to rule it, when you are not there, we don't know what's going to happen, it's a challenge.
Oh, major failure.
And he hasn't been able to put in place institutions that will outlive his presidency.
Well, maybe he has. Just maybe. But we don't know.
But if he has, he would have trusted it. If he has put in place.
It's also unlikely that the country will work at this rate if the country didn't have strong institutions. It can't just be about the personality of the president.
But the way to test that is when he's not there.
That's without a doubt.
So what truth can coexist? So your point is true that the way we see, I'll give you an example. We did a trip to Rwanda. This was 2013-ish. How did it happen? I interviewed the equivalent of their GIPC here in Ghana. And the gentleman was talking about the business opportunities and things. So I brought him to Citi, and then my boss spoke to him. We had a discussion. He facilitated a trip for about 25 business people from Accra to Rwanda. Now, the professionalism within which that trip was organized and the access they gave us to all their agencies and the way they conducted themselves tells you that this country institutions work. So I agree with you on that point. But you're also looking at it on the point of a man versus an institution. I'm using the Obama 2009 point. A man who's really pushing excellence, and then when he's not there, can that thing happen without his influence? Which now we are not sure. You
It
know,
will not happen by default unless you prepare somebody to take over, you prepare a system that will generate that continued leadership.
let me take 2 points on this, because these two gentlemen are not in agreement. No, two people. So my sense is that Sky is not happy that the man has said he will go for 6 or 7 more. You feel the man has done enough, he should hand over, they should organize elections and let somebody else run. Godfred is saying, look, every country is different. So what works for country A is not. And in fact, he says that the China he studied in, when they say they are doing democracy, it's not what you think. Their democracy puts bread on their table. Their democracy allows people to hold local government accountable, even though they don't do every 4-year MPP NDC. They still have a democracy. That's how he went to learn in China. He said that's democracy. You to say democracy, you have to have choice, open elections, freedom of speech, accountability, and all those beautiful things. So you are not happy with the man. So let me give you a few minutes to argue your point. Me, I'm in the middle of this man. We are not sure. Telling me, Obi Asem, do you feel Asem? You have to be sure. But let me. Why are you disappointed in Kagame?
Okay, so first of all, he's done some fine job in Rwanda. When you speak to people from Rwanda, they will tell you that he's transformed that country to a large extent. But the fact too is that the suppression of, dissent. Citizens are not necessarily free in that country. And there are reports that he even targets dissent from outside. So that if you are a citizen of Rwanda and you are known for targeting his government, criticizing him, he can send people after you. A number of reports have been produced to that effect.
But white people's report or whose report? The white people, if somebody insults the president, they say dissent.
No, hold on. Let me finish. Stay on track. Stay.
If you insult Onukpa, they will slap you.
Guys, stay on track. Continue.
You understand? So there are issues of abuse of human rights. And these are serious issues that we consider when we are evaluating a democracy, whether it's properly functioning. Now, he's made his impact. As you have said, if he was that good a leader, or he is that good a leader, by now, it should have been possible for somebody else to emerge and properly take over. He's not the only person who can run Rwanda. He can fall down today, and the next thing we know that he joins the majority, right? Leaders have, passed on to the majority in the past.
As Nathan says, clarify, because people are very literal in Ghana. So he's going to be the ancestors. Because Nathan is right now, he doesn't have a small day. So in majority is the empathy. He's going to be with the ancestors. That's what he's trying to say.
You understand? So if you look at it from that viewpoint, you can say that no, he is not the be all and all for the people of Rwanda or for the peace in that region. Now, beyond that...
you are extending to the region.
Yeah, because the argument will be made that, he's central in terms of holding the region together. You talk about Uganda, DRC, Burundi, that whole Chaka. So, he is key. But we also know that the friction that he has with neighboring countries also creates its own problem. But let me take you to a more germane matter. Paul Kagame is one of the key people behind this whole Africa Union agenda in its current form. In fact, the formation of the AFTA, he played a central role in getting it off the ground. Now, if you go to the AU's Charter on Democracy, which was adopted sometime in 2007, if my memory serves me correctly. Let me see. Let me just check that. So that one, it was... adopted in 2007, yes, and entered into force in 2012. Now, if you go to Article 23 of that particular charter, Clause 5 of Article 23, Article 23 actually deals with what? Sanctions in cases of unconstitutional changes in government. Now, if you go to Clause 5, it says state parties agree that the use of inter alia, the following illegal means of accessing or maintaining power constitute an unconstitutional change of government and shall draw appropriate sanctions by the union. And then clause 5 says, any amendment or revision of the constitution or legal instruments which is an infringement on the principles of democratic change of government. Now, what did the Rwandan constitution say prior to 2015? It says that two terms, 7-year terms.
But they did a referendum.
Hold on, we'll go to that.
And the referendum...
We'll go to that. You see, I told you here that certainty of the law is a cardinal principle of the theory of rule of law in practice.
And certainty of law includes how you can change it.
So, hold on. You see, you can always use all kinds of things to change the law. Today. What will happen in Ghana if, knock on wood, the president sleeps, dreams that, look, he's the only person capable of solving the problems of Ghana, puts together a bill, which bill is sent to Parliament. The processes say that send it to Parliament after all the gazetting and all the related matters. Referendum is held after following the advice of the Council of State and blah, blah, blah. And then he goes back to Parliament. The people of Ghana vote that, yes, we want the constitution changed. So Parliament decides that, okay, we are voting for it or we are not voting for it. What will happen? I am saying that certainty of...
Let me answer the question.
Okay.
The reason why you are asking is because you know that Ghanaians will not accept it.
Why? No, I don't know that.
That's why you're asking me what will happen.
No, I don't know that.
Because and you don't even know how Ghanaians will vote anyway.
That is the point I'm making.
So, no, I'm coming. You don't even know whether they will vote to endorse that constitutional change by referendum. Do you understand? So I am saying that the 2015 referendum they did, we need to ask whether it was a proper referendum.
Okay, so you see, that is where you go to what happens during elections in Rwanda. Now, Rwanda doesn't have a competent, properly so-called opposition. The elements that form the pillar of the opposition have been annihilated to a large extent. So what you have there in Rwanda, masquerading as opposition, are practically, praise singers.
Who punch some more and then come back.
That's right. And come and chop some more, allegedly. That's what the report suggests. So these are not NDC, CPP, PMP. No.
They don't have the bollocks of our people.
They have co-opted them in a way. They caress them.
But if that's what works for them, why should that be a problem?
You see, Bernard, that's why I said that if you have in a country fear to speak truth to power, culture of silence, as we saw during the Rawlings era, you cannot have proper democracy that functions like that.
So based on what you're saying, that 2015 referendum was questionable.
Yes,
and
could well have been.
You could use this article in the thing you read to say that even this whole AU champion himself has no legs to stand on the basis of that.
Exactly. You go to Guinea. Is it Conde? Conde. He did a similar thing in defiance of what the principles say in the AU Charter.
He was advised.
Yes, amended the constitution. They told him that what you are doing is wrong. But he relied on the institutions, suppressed them, and got them to move the amendment through. Subsequently, what did his bodyguard do? Remove him from power, and then he's no longer president. The point I'm making is that you don't have so many people speaking out in Rwanda because they have been suppressed. And because we market Rwanda as the finest thing to happen in Africa.
Sliced bread.
Yeah, that's right. People are likely to push back if you say, hey, the way the man is going is wrong. Look, Nelson Mandela, when he won independence for South Africa, he could have said that he wants to be president for life. People actually urged him on that, look, Mandela, look, if there is need to even...
You are the showboy.
Charlie, you understand? What did he do?
Handed over after one.
He handed over power peacefully. Of course, people say that South Africa is now a pale shadow of... Yeah, that's right. But you see, that is for the current generation
Mandela's
of
legacy is intact.
Yeah, that is intact. So, yes.
So you've made a forceful argument.
Yeah.
I think you've made a forceful argument. Let me listen to Godfrey.
Okay,
now, Sky is really standing on strong legs. He's quoted AU Charter and things, basically saying, look, 23 years, you've done enough. Go. Don't come and spoil your legacy with this thing. This 2015 thing stuff you did was not really strong. So don't even come and add to it. Do your 3 terms. Don't do a 4th one. You are not too sure if you agree with him.
Oh, not necessarily. My position on the matter is this. Rwanda is not a perfect country. You understand? It has significant problems. If you've been to Rwanda, outside of what the press show you and what they also tend to show the press, and it's a country that is very heavy on its PR. It's a country that is paying Samensis team to showcase his country. Has recently signed a deal with Arsenal.
See, be careful, because now when you say something, it means paying Arsenal.
That has signed a deal with
Because somebody think it's paying
Rwanda.
that has signed a deal with Bayern Munich.
Listen to what Nathan is saying.
Supposed to recuse himself.
Please, dissociate yourself from that.
He is happily embracing
Every
Arsenal.
country on this continent has major problems.
Yes, I'm
And
getting to it.
No, but he's
countries
alleging that they are
found-
paying you to market them.
No, but it's
But
okay.
have they paid you? Then why didn't you do that?
No, I mean, they pay
Recuse
us.
But where's my share?
No, hang on. No, what I'm saying is that in the midst of their problems,
Yes.
they think that they have certain things that the world must see.
No, I get it. Just that when you said they are paying Samensis company, it was a bit
They
confusing.
are paying
I see.
Yes, Bernard. Madam Bernard.
Charlie, we have to be careful.
That one.
No, go. Charlie, Nipa, you're back.
Recently paid Bayern Munich.
So Bayern is so Arsenal and Bayern
They are
are
spending money to prop up the state, but that also brings, of course, significant economic positives because people come in there. They are the ones carrying they've grown. They are very exclusive. They have a very exclusive tourism group in there where it costs you top dollar to be even allowed to participate there. It's not for you and I, regular Joes like you and I. That trip, we can't make that particular trip. They are the ones that they advertise. Okay, but the point is this: you look at where the country has come from, and I admit that the failure of the Rwandan party that he heads, the RPF, to groom a successor, perhaps also born out of fear
in Kotanyi.
of Kagame himself, okay, is key. But then here's the thing. Every country in this history goes through certain things and requires a certain kind of person to go through those things. Okay, so Ghana, we're lucky to have Nkrumah at a certain point to take us through. If it was, even if it was just a decade, we had Nkrumah for that decade. South Africa at a point required Mandela. Even if it was just for 4 or 5 years, they had Mandela to take them through those things. Nigeria will mention this, although we don't know who they will select. Burkina Faso talks about Sankara and what he did, the positives and the negatives, but the positives far outweigh. The thing is, there's no perfect human being. But the thing is about leaving a country as a country. One that is not perfect, but one that functions. The question today, does Rwanda function? Yes, it functions. If you look at where the country came from, as we have described, it's a country that could basically be Somalia
Yeah.
if left to its
Looking at what happened
yes,
there.
if left to its own terms. It's a country that could easily be DR Congo if left to itself. Why? Because of the very, and that's something made that point, the very deep-seated nature of the ethnic clashes in that country. Look, the Hutus and the Tutsis,
It was a
it's so ingrained that if you read the Rwandan constitution today, you are not allowed to describe yourself as a Hutu or a Tutsi.
But has he solved that problem?
No, you can never solve that. He cannot solve that problem.
He can't solve it.
No, it's just 200 to 300 years of hatred for each other. How can you use 22 years to solve it? But what you can do is to find an avenue to get the people to focus on other things so that the country can move along, other than focusing on just killing each other.
So the problem of that ethnic suspicion is not solvable in a generation.
No, it's not going to be. And the dangers I foresee is such that, and where I tend to agree with those who say his inability or his party's inability to find a leader is, if he leaves and the person who takes over is not as strong, the institutions are strong, yes, but the institutions respond to the strong man that is Kagame.
And
For now.
And the other point is that
work
he is
because of
Tutsi.
him.
Yes,
And they are like 15%.
exactly.
So there's a large Hutu majority who are not saying anything.
Yes,
They just watch
who
it.
are watching, okay?
Charlie.
Who in fact, there is a very strong
Somewhere.
Hutu-led rebel group in part who function out of the DRC,
My God.
who are just waiting an opportunity to return.
For the lion to go.
Yes, so it's not like the Rwandans are also not aware of that. So the choices that Rwandans have to make.
But couldn't he have reached out to them? Because when he stabilized the country in the first 6-7 years, should the focus not have been on now uniting the country beyond using the law? Because you are saying that there's clearly significant Hutu undertones that are not being voiced out.
Yes.
So, and there's a group in DRC that is waiting.
But not everybody is an ethnic extremist. They also, which is why his style has undermined Hutu moderates, for instance, because there are Hutu moderates, quite a lot of them. Not everybody is on the extreme end. You see, how Kagame has run it is a function of how Kagame grew up. Kagame is a Tutsi refugee. Remember, there's somebody whose family ran away, and he built his power base from outside the country and came in.
He marched in from outside, took over.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, that the choices that Rwandans have to make when it comes to selecting a leader is not simply a choice about economic prosperity. It's a choice about...
See, that's beautifully said. But you see, Sky's point is that if AU has gone to write this nice English, they put this thing there.
Which is binding.
And they know that every country is different.
Yes.
Then why have they written that in there?
That's
because they are saying
I read it too.
if you have come to power, don't change the constitution to stay in power. So when you come to power, sit down and leave when you finish and let somebody continue.
But the man has changed it already.
Yes, and he said that's wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong.
But
He said the way they change itself is not right.
Which is true.
So
because we know that they fiddled with the numbers.
So Sky's point is that you cannot then, if AU allows that to continue, he's done one extra term. But now if he gets he's done 2 terms legally. Then he did a 3rd term based on changing the constitution. Now he wants to do a 4th.
Yes. But do you know what the AU will look at? Again, which is the choice, the matter of choice or options. What the AU will look at in this conversation is, do we prefer to deal with Kagame and the certainty of him now? And hold on. Or we will prefer to deal with whatever comes after, which might require us sending troops, which we know we will not be able to afford, and AU we know they won't do it.
So what is the best decision for leaders of the continent now, based on what he said he would do? Should they say that, Kagame, we like you, you're a great guy, but we cannot vary this principle in support of your...
What can be encouraged from Kagame's side is for him to expand the themes of his democratic principles. Okay.
Hey,
can you explain that?
No, I'm just saying, you see, because the media is heavily suppressed. But if you ask them, they will tell you that, well, the long, very popular story of how the situation in Rwanda degenerated because of media.
Yeah.
And so we've had to shut it down because we do not want the excesses of the media. That is one excuse. Okay? Can you find ways, if the institutions are as strong as you say they are, the institutions can regulate the media properly? Okay,
so it's not easy.
It's not. That's what I'm saying.
It's very nuanced and layered.
It's very good. You see, because here's the situation. Let us not forget where Rwanda finds itself. If Rwanda and Uganda don't get along that well,
which is even a problem.
Hold on.
DR Congo too.
They and the DRC
My God.
don't get along. Rwanda and Burundi
are
not the best of friends
Oh.
in any sense.
And they are very suspicious
of each other.
I have a question that people have not been able to answer. You have 2 groups in 2 countries. Why can't they just move one group to one country, another group to another country to resolve the problem?
Whichever way you are imbalancing the other.
Because doesn't Burundi also have Hutus and Tutsis? Oh,
they do.
So why can't the AU say, okay, all the Tutsis will go to Rwanda?
Because that is not how
that's not how the maps were drawn.
So the real problem is the person who do the map.
Yes, there is that. But all I'm saying is...
So let me ask a question. Somebody quoted something for me and said, Africa's main problem is ethnicity.
It is.
Somebody actually
Sames has made that point.
Somebody quoted it. Yes, the guy quoted it from, Mozambique. Samora Machel.
Yes.
Africa's major and main challenge is the issue of ethnicity. This was said by Samora Machel of Mozambique in 1983. Thanks to Nana Poku.
And
Is this correct? You agree with that?
I'll give
agree
a
with
physical
this?
example.
See Samura Machel, when he started fighting the West, look at what they did to him.
I disagree.
John Garang
No, hold on.
chased him out till he died.
It's a
in the
fair
plane
point to
crash.
make.
Not Garang is Sudan. The another one.
Sorry.
The other guy. What's the other guy's name?
Who?
The second
they finished
Mozambican
them.
president,
They finished
Chisano.
them.
Chisano, Joaquin.
They finished them.
Sorry, Sky. Let's put this on table. Africa's major and main challenge is the issue of ethnicity. You disagree?
I disagree.
Okay, let me take a break and allow you to expand that. Notice we will take a break. This is very serious. You agree with that?
Oh, I disagree.
We will do it. Sky says it. We are on a delicate topic because of the I just came from the WTO, met some Rwandans, and I think that the Rwanda, we in Africa, we want examples that will make us proud. Okay, I'm coming. We are looking for stories, and from the outside, for a country that went through, if you listen to Brigadier Nyero when he was on that show talking about what happened in Rwanda, when you read books about what happened in that country, and you see that in 22 years, 23 years, the country is a model for orderliness, cleanliness, the citizens are okay. I agree with you that there's suppression and all of those things. Sometimes you need to look at where you've come from, okay? Which is why the fact that he hasn't found a successor, or the country hasn't found a successor, or the party hasn't found a successor, or potential successors is very troubling. That would be the dent on his image, because where Lee Kuan Yew departs from him is that he made himself irrelevant. So by the time he was about to exit, they knew exactly who was going to take over. All right. Indeed, before Xi Jinping came, we've always known who is gearing up to take over.
Yeah, that's what proper leaders.
So even though they are not in your type of democracy, we can see who is emerging. So, but in fact, when Xi Jinping, I remember Lloyd Amma was on this show and he told me that Xi Jinping will become Chinese president. And he said it almost 6 years before he became president. He said when you look at Xi Jinping's emergence, the places he's running and the things they are giving him to do, you can tell that they are preparing to hand over to him. So if you are running a system that involves that type of democracy, you shouldn't just make it about yourself. Even though we don't know what will happen if he goes, just from what Godfrey is saying, it's very clear that if the man goes, a vacuum is created, and a vacuum, nature aborts a vacuum.
Yeah, so let me, on that, let me...
No, I thought you finished. Godfrey, you finished.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
No, you are done.
I just wanted to read a message that I got.
Okay, read it for me. Read it for me.
Which is agreeing with the two sides. So this message is coming in from a colleague who says that I have a Rwandan colleague in my office, and she's saying, you are right with your assessment, which is how I assess the situation thus far. However, Kagame going again is the best thing for Rwanda. According to her, if Kagame leaves, there will be war.
Straight.
Yeah. There are so many people who want to be president and feel like their ethnicity has not been served. There are many tensions around the presidency given their background, and it seems like the only way to avoid war or dispute in Rwanda is if Kagame continues. Similar to what Godfred is saying. Rwandans know this. Now, also according to her, Kagame has been in power for so long, and Kagame allegedly has some dirty linens that he doesn't want to be exposed. If another person comes in as president, Kagame stands the risk of being exposed. And mind you, there is even a standing resolution, not a resolution, international
warrant.
Yeah, that's right, for his arrest.
In relation to a specific case.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's the French people who issued that following his alleged involvement in something.
So you are saying that he should not go for the fourth term?
Yes. The reason I'm saying is that, look, we cannot cut a slack for leaders on the basis of what peculiar situations they may have in their countries. When we do that, then certainty of principle is undermined.
So we should all run the same system?
No, not
is
the same system the principle is that, look, Kofi Annan said something. Let me just quote that briefly to make my point. He said that there is no single model of democracy that applies universally, right?
Correct.
Countries must choose their own path based on the peculiar situations they face in their country. But you see, that's a beautiful thing, and it is a statement of fact. However, the principle has to be firm that through the process of choosing your own path, there has got to be certainty. Certainty of the rule of law is a universal principle. So if somewhere midstream, or maybe 2 days to your term expiring, you go quickly amend the constitution to perpetuate yourself in office. That's what brought the problem in Gabon. That's what brought the problem in Guinea. That's that also brought the problem in what? Togo.
There are plenty.
Yeah, plenty places. So we cannot create a situation where leaders can conveniently argue that, because of the ethnic makeup of my place, or they can actually even engineer
so that it will keep them in
so
power
that
for long.
they will perpetuate themselves in power. The principle is 4 years. If your 4 years you exhaust it, get out of office. As to what happens to your country thereafter, you can advise from outside. In fact, if you are that great a leader,
hold on. You see, it's easy for us to say this. So you're saying you hand over and stick to the principle.
yes.
As to what happens to your country thereafter. What if your country descends into anarchy?
No, you see, the people, they are not.
But even when you stay, it can still descend into anarchy, as we have seen in certain situations.
So he shouldn't be the one to judge. It's not his judgment.
Put in place the processes, let them do a free, fair election, let them determine their leader. If there are problems
So
subsequently,
they should
you can
allow
always deal
for
with that.
elections and whoever wins should win.
Yes, don't say that you are the solution to the country's problem, because you can fall down today.
And if he dies, there was somebody who still.
Yeah, somebody will move it.
Who is the vice president, by the way? That's the problem with strongmen. We don't know their vice president.
But
It's a difficult situation.
It's a difficult
I tell you,
situation,
Charlie.
but he is making it more difficult.
Okay.
This whole thing of I have to be the one to extend for another 7 years
Charlie?
is problematic. You understand?
You'll be older.
It used to be
Because-
2 5-year terms.
because,
Two 5-year
because there are lots of people around who are going to have to compromise. It also gives rise to a lot of opposition underground. And it swells up within that period.
Groundswell.
And that's where the thing can spell out.
But what is the motivation of that opposition?
Look at.
No,
at-
he's
you
saying
see,
that there was
the motivation may
because
be
he's staying
varied.
too
It may
long,
be
so they
varied.
are getting angry.
It may be varied. Some may be paid, some may be by Western forces. Some
Wagner
may be
self go
by,
fit go
yeah,
there.
it may be varied.
This year,
But you see, so it's a situation for most emerging African countries. But the system you put in place will either aggravate it or lessen it.
I want you to defend something I said. Ethnicity is Africa's main problem. I say it's not true.
We'll
It's
come
true.
back to that. You see, when I see somebody talking about Thomas Sankara. Sankara was in power for how many years? 4 years,
not very long,
4 5 years, 5 years or so. Okay, now he is the most referred to name in Burkina Faso today. Yeah, he came in at the age of 33.
Charlie.
33 years. Okay. Now, when people talk about Sankara, do you hear that they say he did a coup?
They don't say that.
Nobody talks about the coup d'etat, but they talk about how he restored the image of Burkina Faso. In fact, changed the name of the country
Yes.
to what we
Upper
call
Volta to Burkina
Upper
the
Faso.
Volta.
land
Volta.
of the upright.
Proper name,
Burkina Faso, the land of the upright.
not Upper Volta.
You see, at times, the good works can even surpass how you got yourself into the place.
Samuel, you know the problem with that? We will not always have benevolent dictators.
I am 200% in agreement. And I'm not by this saying that the man should go ahead. But I'm just saying that the decision that I have to go again is problematic. Having said that, I will not be quick to condemn it because there may be underlying issues that may not be known to all of us. Which issues can throw the country back into the former state of war? You know, and
But if you-
where
but
we
no,
want
no, no,
the
but
opposition to
if you-
act.
if you've been
A
in
lot
power
of
for 23
hang
years
on.
and
A
those
lot
issues
of
have not
things
been
have
dealt with,
changed.
then you
You see,
failed.
a lot of things have changed in the global world order.
Yeah.
The world order today. Before, when something happens, the Western forces will come and help. Today, they are thinking about themselves.
They won't mind you. But sorry, the point
run
is
by
that
yourself.
I think I'm a bit concerned that, you see, we should measure a leader by its country's most important problem. And the country's most important problem was disunity and division after a genocide. So if we are saying he has to stay to prevent that from reoccurring, he means he has failed.
Not necessarily.
He has.
No, not necessarily.
By keeping the country at some level of peace by being president is just part of his job.
Those are
If
sandcastles.
his absence, he hasn't said that his absence will lead to genocide, but a lot of us around are saying that there appears to be a serious power vacuum that will be exploited in his absence. And I'm saying that was to have been his most important 20-year project. That if I'm going to be in power for 20 years, I must create a society that can exist without me being the head.
Yeah.
So if after 23 years he has to still be there for another whatever years, it means that the original purpose has failed.
But Bernard, the problem for him is he cannot do that in isolation, which is why I'm talking to you about his neighbors. You see, the choices are not just his. Whatever he does in his country, he has next door neighbors who sit and look, who have interest in his country and what happens there. So he can heal the divide in his country, but will he heal the divide in Burundi?
And by the way, why is Museveni still president? We are not even talking about it. I mean, Museveni is almost 40. We are not saying anything. Why?
He's grooming.
He's preparing his son to take over.
So if you don't remember doing press ups,
he's very free.
You don't remember the time you went to sit in the chair.
But I'm just saying that just quickly, so before we get to the situation for Rwandans is very different from how we as watchers of democracy or how we as neutrals outside will view it. The options for them and the decisions they have to make are very different from ours. So for me, as a political watcher, who is interested in democracy, I might say that they need elections. This is, I mean, in Ghana, we free, fair,
like this
transparent
this man went
elections.
Just talking.
Okay. They will tell you that what they need at the moment is to hold the country together and grow their economy to the point where
they can be in a position to do elections.
They can be in a position where the country is so successful that these ethnic divides are washed over in a certain way.
No, I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you.
So those are the realities that you think about. And honestly speaking, if you look at it, might be a bit simplistic, but the evidence shows in certain countries of certain people who history has bad-mouthed, and their acts deserve that they get bad-mouthed. But if you look at the peculiarities of their countries, you sit back again and ask yourself, was it worth the chase to get this person out?
Gaddafi.
You understand?
It's one case in point.
It's been the removal of one person has led to basically
Since
the
Gaddafi
entire
left,
collapse of
the whole country
half the continent.
Since Gaddafi left, everything has gone down.
You understand? Guns running left, right, and center. Everybody doing what they want to do.
It's a delicate situation.
It's a very delicate situation.
For me, isn't it the same issue we are talking about? It's because Gaddafi himself never prepared for somebody who will take over.
You see, they always assume that they are the only people who can fix it. And you say, as they say, if you keep saliva in your mouth for far too long, ubebon.
This guy is-